And maybe this gets cut out because this is not what most leaders should say.
Dude, Jordan Jeppesen, appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bro, of course. Solar Pros, this is the first ever podcast, official. The Pursuit is what we're calling it. Official podcast of Freedom Solar Pros. So, thought it would be awesome to have one of our most explosive leaders on, and somebody who's going to bring the juice for everybody on the first episode. So, Jordan Jeppesen, man, appreciate you coming on. I know that with what you guys have going on, making time for something like this is it's tough to fit in your schedule. So I appreciate you letting us kind of track you down. I know you've been on a flight every day. It seems like you have one later today. Yeah. And you guys were just in Vegas a couple days ago, so it's just nonstop. So I appreciate you, man. And as an introduction to who Jordan is, just so everyone knows. He's one of our main SVPs here at Solar Pros. He co-runs the Infinite division, which is an absolute juggernaut. Has had some of the most growth this last year. 14 years in the game. This last year, installed 13 megawatts. First year at Solar Pros. So just an absolute beast. Dude, I don't even know where to start with you guys because there's so many things I've wanted to hit on kind of prepping for this, but maybe I'll give you a second to talk about Curtis just for kind of talk about your guys' relationship, and then we can kind of dive in, man.
Yeah, well, dude, first, thanks for having me on, man. Super excited to be part of the first. So probably be the worst, but it's uphill from here. But no, yeah. So co-run the division with Curtis. It's been 12 years in the making. We've been working together. So we have a lot of leaders that have been with us the majority of those years. 10 plus years we're coming up on with some of our leaders. And so it's been really cool, the brotherhood and the loyalty and everything we've had to get together. We've made a couple strategic moves over the year. One of them was to Solar Pros, and to have all of our people follow us for the majority is just a blessing. And so a lot of that, goes to Curtis for sure. He is the organizational, he kind of holds us together, makes sure the business is profitable, and he's there grinding on the same amount of flights right by me. So, it's been awesome working with him.
Yeah, I think we were just talking about the uniqueness of your guys' partnership of running such a large organization and having a lot of the similar skill sets, and then being able to pull each other through those ebbs and flows of the storms, the solar coaster, all of that stuff. And you guys have done that through not just solar, but you've done it through multiple products and different companies.
Yeah.
Because you guys, did you guys both start at Dish One, or was it Clear?
No, we actually both started in security.
Oh, wow.
I started at Vivint, and he started at Pinnacle. Okay. And I eventually came to Pinnacle, and that's where we met. And the brotherhood was born. There's different variations about how we met, but it was a rough summer, to say the least. And ever since then, we've been together nonstop. I don't think there's been a year where we haven't ran a network together. So whether it was a region, a division, anything.
So some good trauma bonding.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, there's been a lot of tears shed over the years. So, but it's been good. It's always been good. And we kind of talked about this earlier, having somebody there for you that is gonna catch you when you fall, and having a partner that is there to when you're ebbing and he's flowing. Oh yeah. So it's been a great career path with him.
That's awesome, man. Dude, we should dive into that a little bit with kind of your guys' path from from the beginning. I mean, when you like, did you guys immediately start working together, and then in Pinnacle, and then like let's kind of hear about your journey from there on.
Yeah, so we just clicked. We just clicked that first summer, did a lot of double knock-in. We were figuring the security out. To kind of date myself, this was during the first housing crash. So this is like 2008.
Guys don't even know what that means.
No, I know. Like, I didn't know what it meant then, but 2008, 2009, sometime in there. And no, 2010 probably. But right after the housing crash, the economy was in trouble. And there was a lot of homeowners just not out there that would qualify for security. And so we clicked, and the following year we knew we wanted to manage together. We'd both recruited a lot of people, and that was our initial skill set. And we knew we wanted to manage and kind of take that up to the next level, and so we tried to find a route for that. And my idea was go back to Vivint and continue working there. And so we found a home, and we kind of ran with it. And from there, we found D1, which is what Caliber was before they were Dish One or anything. D1, we actually sold pest control for Caliber.
Oh wow, it wasn't even satellite.
It wasn't even satellite. So we sold pest for their BioGuard side. We sold pest. They sell it the next year. We love it. We did like 2,200 accounts our first year doing pest. We were like rock stars. And they sell it. And they're just going to do TV. And so we had a crossroads. Do we want to go do TV for them, or do we want to go do TV for somebody else? And that's when we ended up at Clear.
Okay.
So we did a year at Clear. We knew some people over there that we had done security with. And so we went to Clear for a year and had a ton of success there. Well, that's when we started to become regionals. Nice. We did about 3,600 accounts that first year in satellite. And our old buddies from Caliber came back, and they're like, hey, we want you here. We didn't want you to leave. And so we started that talk and everything, and eventually we found a home. We were at Caliber for the next 9 years. And it was an amazing run. Like, some of my best memories and the growth that we had together there. I'll forever be grateful for those guys. So,
oh yeah.
And I think that's what brought me to Solar Pros, because a lot of us are here, and a lot of us, have had that same road together. And so it was just a nice coming back into the brotherhood where we knew everybody. And so it's been a good road.
Dude, I remember when I first heard about you and Curtis, and it was right when I got to D1 in like 2015, 2014, one of those years, and you guys were on your road to be like one of the biggest networks. And then like from then on, it was always like, dude, these guys recruit lights out. They're just always recruiting. And that's kind of been, I feel like what you guys are known for. Yeah. Mostly is like, it doesn't matter the space, or like, you found different homes here and there, but you guys have always been able to recruit lights out. I mean, kind of just backing up a little bit with like, because you guys got into solar. You're at D1, mm-hmm. And then I remember in like 2017, 18, we're all in Lake Powell, and you guys got up in front of everybody, and you're like, you guys, there's a solar storm coming, and you guys better be prepared. And we were like, there's no way, man, this is all too good. And then sure enough, like, solar absolutely explodes. Yeah. You guys are all in first kind of adopters inside that space. That would be 2000.
It was right before COVID. So yeah, right at the end of 2018, we actually were the ones who went and found Freedom.
That's right. Okay.
So we went and found Freedom and structured that first initial meeting with Josh and Jeremy and all those guys at Caliber to have a solar vehicle for us. COVID hits, Dish is not allowing anybody to knock, and I think that escalated the solar adoption, and so it seemed like the company started to pivot.
Yeah.
But it was not easy. Like, solar was a tough product to learn, especially back then when the systems and processes are not like they are today. Yeah. It is a much more mature sell. And so a lot of our network adopted that. A lot of our network left to go find solar companies that were doing it.
They were already established.
And so we lost a lot of our network during that time, and we kind of saw that writing on the wall. And before we lost any more of our network, we actually went and made a switch too, which was probably one of the toughest decisions we've ever made. We went to a company that had been doing solar for 6 or 7 years, very established in the space, and just leaving Caliber and trying to retain all our people and start a new product at a new company was just, it was tough. We had to hit the ground running ourselves, and we did. Like, that was, I think, the story that got painted in the industry is we went from another competitor to 10 days later our first blitz, and we did over 100 accounts in 10 days. And so that's kind of what helped us recruit, is the story we were painting in the industry, because our guys were seeing success at a new company and a new, just exploding. And so you talk about that, the recruiting and how we've always been able to do that. I think it's just been, our guys are super loyal. We're all doing the same thing very well. And because of that, it paints a good story, and people want to come be part of it.
Yeah, it's a magnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
because what I so just so everyone listening understands, like, how many people did you guys onboard this year? Like, how many guys do you have?
So onboarded, we're over 2,000.
2,000 people.
2,000 onboarded.
And for some guys who are just like, maybe they have 10 guys, like that's so hard to fathom.
So it's
It's
tough.
so hard to fathom. But what I don't think people understand is like the journey or the path that set you up to be able to do that. Obviously, Solar Pros being an absolute rocket ship is a huge part of that. But you guys have always been recruiters, even through those super tough times. So like, maybe talk about that a little bit of, because I think it's hard for guys to understand the 2,000 reps versus like, I feel like a lot of people can relate to the struggles or maybe like the rock bottoms. Like, maybe talk through some of those challenges that you guys have had, even in the transition, like when you guys first trying to adapt to solar.
Yeah, that was tough. We never have had this many people. It's never been this big, and we've never done this many accounts. But I can 100% relate to the guy with 10 recruits right now, because when we made that transition from Caliber to Legacy, we took about 75 guys with us. That's it. So we had our loyal core group of guys, and they each had their loyal core. And that's about it. That's all we could retain. The rest of the guys were staying to do TV or potentially solar with them, and we kind of just let them be.
And 75 out of how many?
A couple hundred, somewhere around there. We lost a majority of our events program. And
60% of your businesses you're leaving behind. You're taking 40%.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
The cool thing is those leaders that stayed with us, the ones that have been with us for, almost a decade, they're the ones that were ready to build with us. And they're the ones that were super loyal, and they're the ones that we kind of paint this picture with, and that have grown in the same capacity we have. It's not just us they have 2,000 reps. Yeah. We have 5 regions that each have a couple hundred reps themselves. And so I think that's been the big thing is we've been able to catch that momentum and just grow. And I feel like we haven't ever been at a bad company. Like, we didn't leave a bad company to go to a better one. All the companies we've been at were always great. Like, they've always been great. They've always done things really well. And so we just kept that momentum. We've always made good strategic decisions. And I think that's helped paint our story and what our momentum's about.
Interesting. So, I mean, because like, as a leader, you're required to make some hard decisions. And like that one, I think too, especially like being with a company for so long and then transitioning to a different company and kind of having to re-earn your stripes. Like, you guys were the shit in a lot of ways. And then like not having maybe that level of, I don't know, like clout, and then moving into a new space and like having to re-earn your stripes. I feel like a lot of stuff's overlooked a lot of the time, of like, even the guys who have been at, the peak here go to a new spot and have to, I mean, you guys have told me in the past, like, you couldn't even have your name on leaderboard at first.
I think that's one thing about this industry that's been different than any other product we've been in.
Solar.
Yeah. So like the dish and the security and pest control, the barrier to entry in solar is so low. Any company will let you go and create a dealership with them. Any company will let you go and be the guy if they think you have potential, because the barrier to entry is so low. And so I think that's one thing that we got taught when we went to Legacy, and probably the thing I least liked, but in the end was most appreciative of.
Wow.
Is we did have to go earn our stripes. Like we came over, we were the second largest division at Caliber, and we came over as managers. And we had to earn our way up. And I think it was just a good lesson to learn. Like, they don't promote past accolades. Like, they promote what you're doing today and what value you're bringing to your people. And I think that's such a lost thing. And I love that we're doing that here at Solar Pros.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there's no more, at past accolades don't matter. You've got to go earn your stripes. And when you do, you're going to be preached. I know there's been a lot of, people who came over from other companies that may have gotten offended. We had a lot of them that worked with us that thought they were coming over as VPs or regionals or divisionals, and they just didn't hit the metrics this year, and that put a fire in some of their, behind some of them, and it really offended some of them. And the guys who put a fire under are going out there and they're going to make sure they hit it this year.
Exactly.
But I think it's one of the things I'm most grateful for that we're doing today is we're making people earn their accolades, because I think regionals in the industry, in the door-to-door industry, so security, every product, it's a very coveted thing. But in solar, anybody out there can put that they're a regional on LinkedIn. And it doesn't mean much. Like, I'm a regional of 10 guys. You know what I mean? And so we've had to have some of these hard conversations with our people about, hey, if I promote you to being a regional, it is going to devalue the people who are going out in there and putting in the work to be regionals. I know that's a hard thing to hear, but we had to go through the same thing. We really weren't even considered managers. We were lower than managers that just had a bunch of people and collected overrides.
That's incredible.
So it was a journey. It was the toughest thing. Like I said, switching companies after 9 years, going to a new product, it was, you're on an island. You're a foreigner in a different country, and you're trying to make something of yourself.
And when you're saying that, it makes me realize, and again, it's one of those things I feel like is just so overlooked of, like, people hear 2,000 onboarded reps or 13 megawatts installed, and it was a process and like a grueling one in a lot of ways, where like it's who you became in that process that's allowed you to receive that, I think, in so many ways. Like, I think guys just were so conditioned to think that, like, that instant gratification, we can just go out and get it. And, like, I think anyone can, but, like, you can't skip steps.
No.
You can't skip steps. So, like, you're an SVP in on this category, here at Solar Pros, and doing most that you've ever, doing the most you've ever done. But rewind not that long ago,
No.
your manager status, and after having been the top dog, and like it's weathering those storms that like fortifies real growth. And I think that's why you guys are doing what you're doing now.
Yeah. And I think guys appreciate it more than we think. I think when we go to recruit, we think that giving a guy a title or higher pay or something for free that he hasn't earned is going to be the reason he comes over. But I look at guys like Ben Newell. Yeah. Ben Newell has hit every single level he's earned. And he is the most appreciative guy about it. And so I think we have it kind of backwards when we're recruiting. We need to make guys go and earn it and help them earn it instead of just giving it away.
Provide the value to help them.
Exactly. Provide the value to help them out. And then you'll have a much stronger foundation. That's the guys that have all followed us. They've been on that same path. Like, none of them asked to be regionals before they were doing it. None of them asked to have titles before they got it. Some of them had earned it before they were even considered it. And so I think people really appreciate, the suck or the process along the way.
Well, that's how you build long-term growth.
Yeah.
You see so many people come in and out of the industry that are just given a lot, and those that you don't really see a lot of long-term plays out of that. It's the people that like really dig their heels in and earn it that pan out long-term.
100%.
Dude, that's awesome. Just so people understand, like, what did you guys come to Solar Pros with? How many guys?
Roughly 250, I think is what we onboarded.
Oh, okay, so 250, and in 1 year now you guys onboarded over 2,000.
Yeah.
And and 13 megawatts installed. Like maybe, like, dude, what's that ride been like this last year?
It's been crazy. We were just looking at our miles, and we have over 1,000, or we have over 1,000,000 miles this last year, and so it's been crazy. Yeah, it's been busy. Like it's been tiring, exciting, energizing, all in one.
I think one thing that we're doing right here is that, like, yeah, you probably fit with your direct guys, is like, dude, you're not asking them to do anything that you're not you're not willing to do. Like, so many of the top guys are just leading from the front in so many ways, because sometimes it's not just about setting and closing. It's about recruiting and training and developing and doing that at an extremely high level. And I mean, going from 250 to 2000, setting up for 2024, like, I mean, onboarding teams of 200 plus, those types of things. Man, it's crazy to see. And I feel like, a lot of the managers and regionals see you guys doing that, and they're like, damn, dude, like, we can do more. And I think you guys especially are giving like almost inspiration to like what's possible. Like, the standard is so high. Yeah. And it's never been done before, and a lot of you guys are just like paving the way.
Ironic. This is, a couple hours ago, I didn't know this was happening. But we actually used an example a couple hours ago on one of our leadership calls, because you did that. Like, you went out this year, ran the top region in the whole entire company. You were also one of the top reps. And I think that inspires people, because they think once you get to a certain level, you can stop doing what it is that made revenue. And you went out and proved you can do both things at a high level, and because of that, your momentum has exploded. And so I think that, like, guys need to see that. Guys need to see us on. I think I did 13 flights in December, like a month where you have unlimited holidays. I did 13 flights, and the coolest, I think, or the thing I've been most appreciative, like the things I hear, is when somebody introduces me, they're like, "This is the hardest worker in our division." Same with Curtis. Like, that is more important to me than all the other accolades, is they know that I'm there to bleed, sweat, and cry with them. So,
dude, and just saying it, like, I just have never seen such massive alignment top down, from Brett Bushy to Josh to you guys to us to our reps throughout, of like, we don't get what a lot of people call sit on your ass overrides. Yeah. Of like, dude, I'm just collecting a paycheck, and like, my margins are baked. It doesn't matter what you sell the deal at, like, and I think a lot of people assume that we've had like this explosive growth because of Brett and, like, our alignment with Freedom, and like that's definitely part of it. But I think it's like so much from the leadership being like, lead from the front in every single way possible. Yeah. And it's just contagious. So people are flocking to it, because it's I don't know if it's ever been done before, where it's just eat what you kill. If you provide value, you're gonna get paid, and no one's just sitting around. No one.
That is probably the hardest thing to recruit to, kind of what you're talking about. But when people catch that vision, and the ones that are here are earning more than other people in the industry. But on paper, our margins, because we pass so much to the field, the guy knocking the door, our reps are the highest paid in the industry. That doesn't mean our leadership is. Our leadership is giving up a lot in margin to give away to their reps. But the volume we're doing, our leaders are making more money than they've ever made. And that was tough to grasp for me. It's very tough to grasp for some of these new teams I'm bringing on. A month and a half to 2 months in, when they're like, we're doing 3 times the volume we've done at any other company, and we're making double what we have made at any other company, they get that. Like, we don't need the $200 a watt, overrides on guys. We need guys to go do 200 accounts a month. And so it's been really cool to see, like, but once you grasp that vision and you actually just hit the ground running, that's when you do the multi-megawatts. We had a better margin at another company per account, but we're making way more here.
Making way more. And dude, that all comes from Brett.
It's from the top.
You know, like I think that like how he grew Freedom, and then I mean he said in his podcast like he literally put it out for the universe of like the company that does this, that adopts this model, is going to see insane growth, and then we go and do 21,000 accounts very first year.
Yeah.
And it really is because it's prioritizing the rep, because the rep can take care of the customer, and you make up for all the difference in just sheer scale and volume.
Yeah.
And dude, it's one of those things that like you can't negate the facts of it. It's literally happening.
Yeah.
And it's happening faster, stronger than anyone's ever done it. It blows my mind. It's so powerful to recruit with.
For sure.
Because you're in direct alignment of like with your rep of like you're always in the best position.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you sell the deal at, you're always making, you know, the vast majority of the commission. And if you need to sell lower, we give up overrides so you can make up the difference, and guys respond to that.
Yeah. And it's not the norm in the industry, and I think that's the hardest thing to explain. You know, we're not a red line model where everybody's margins besides the rep are set. Like, you know, if the rep has to give a customer a better deal to compete with another quote, he's the only one who loses. Yeah, we all take that loss with him, so he loses less. And so I think that's huge, and I think that's why, you know, in the past it's been reps will follow leaders, but I'm starting to realize it's reps will follow leaders until they realize their leaders aren't doing what's best for them. And so, yeah, and I think that's why we're getting so many other companies' reps interest here, and their leaders are having to follow networks instead of the way it used to be where networks followed their leaders.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, because you know, you guys going from individual closers to like small teams to these massive teams, do you feel like you're seeing, like, is it taking them a minute to kind of adopt that mindset, or like do you feel like people are kind of looking for that in the industry when they truly understand our model?
I think when they truly understand our model, it makes sense, and like the growth that each team has had here speaks volumes. Yeah. We don't have teams that are doing a couple accounts a week, you know, and the managers are driving Lambos. Yeah. Our teams are throwing down. Yeah. Like I would be tough to find another network that competes with our top networks. Yeah. I think we had a group come over and just join us, and on their first blitz in like 7 days did 180 accounts. I think it was the Alpha division or Alpha region.
Yeah, the Rocky guys.
Rocky, yeah. Like nobody's competing with that, but his reps are able to be competitive and go do what's right by the customer, and it's just showing. Like, it's showing that this model is working. Like, it's so cool to see how much commission we're paying out to the reps each week, where we break the banks. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, I was looking, you know, today, and just on Friday, just in rep commission, we're paying out $2.5 million. $2.5
million a week.
And this is February. These are accounts from January where most companies are trying to get started again. You know, yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, you look at last year, we kicked this thing off. We do 800 accounts. Fast forward a year, and we do 3,000. A year later, I just go. But when I'm talking to people about it, it's like, you have to look at the facts. Like, why is the growth happening? If this isn't Fugazi, this isn't like, you can only fool so many people if it's not real. Like, are people getting paid? Are people growing? And is the leadership stable, and is it real? Yeah. And if it wasn't, then where are the numbers coming from? Yeah. Because it's not like we have affiliates and things like that, but the internal side does the majority. Yeah. There's a vast majority, and that's where all this stuff is happening. I get so fired up. I wanted to what do you guys feel like your strength is in recruiting? I know you talk about your story, but I want to give these guys something of, you know, like the arguably like the top recruiting network. I mean, what are you guys doing with your people to inspire that vision of, you know, let's grow here, or like maybe talk a little bit to that?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, it
is. We do a lot, and we're doing. It's not just us. Like I said earlier, we have 5 or 6 regions that have 200 people apiece. And they're kind of catching that vision of going out and competing with each other and becoming the biggest region or becoming the next division or VP. And I think when you have a runway to get to those levels, which we do, and a lot of companies don't, like all of our guys are from the first year rep to the best regional. He knows what it takes to become a VP. He knows what it takes to become a partner. And so I think when you have that vision, it's easier to go give to people. What's crazy is I think one of the best things about our offering is Freedom owns half our company. And in 5 years, they're going to purchase the other half of our company to our shareholders, which are our people. And they're going to purchase that at a valuation, and our people are going to get shares inside of Freedom. What's crazy is that's probably the least amount of my pitch when recruiting. The best thing we have to offer, they want to know what we're doing. Like, they want to know, how are you guys breaking records every week? How are you guys growing? In 2024 or 2023, there was somewhere between 500 and 700 companies that went out of business, and we grew. And like, how are you doing that? 500 to 700 solar installers, not companies, but like in our industry. How are you guys growing? What are you guys doing? Why does everybody want to be at Solar Pros? And if you're there to offer this opportunity, that's where our growth is coming from. And we've had a lot of indirect growth. We just brought over a network that we didn't even talk to their higher leaders. We were talking to their people. Those managers didn't end up coming. Their VPs came, and all their VPs people came. And they just wanted to be part of this because they want to take care of their reps. And so I think it's just a cool thing that we're building here, and all of us are catching momentum. It's not just us, which is crazy. It's every division, every region, every team is catching the momentum.
Speaking to that, because the competition's insanely contagious.
Yes.
There's like just so much alignment with like, put the rep first, leadership, put the rep first, put the customer first, like our leadership's aligned, but then also you start getting into the competitive nature and like seeing other people grow, you guys grow, Alpha grow, Evolve grow, and there's so much inspiration inside of that now, like, you look at you thought that 2023 was legit, and now you look at it, you're like, that was weak, dude. Now we're talking. And it'll be interesting to see, like, after 2024, if we look, we're loaded up for 25, like, what we think of 2024. But this year, going into this year, like, there's so many absolute ballers. And just, you look at the leaderboards and you're like, dude, like, what are these guys doing? And it just gets you to do more and more and more. What do you guys feel like makes Infinite unique inside of that space?
I think we've built things the right way. I think we've developed the leaders, and we've built the systems the right way, which has helped us. Like, I think 2023 was great. Honestly, a little disappointed by our volume. I thought we'd do a lot better. And when we talk about 2024, we've already installed 4 megawatts this year. We installed 12 last year. We're on pace to just blow last year out of the water. And all the divisions and regions are in that same boat, like blowing last year's numbers out of the water probably by summer. Like, we'll probably all, Evolve, and you guys, and we'll probably all do more than we did last year by summer. And so I think because we took the time last year to go through all those pains, we weren't perfect last year. People know about it too. And we were still able to retain the majority of our people. We had a lot of payroll issues. We were a brand new company. We kind of got thrown to the wolves. And the leaders stepped up and went through those hard times. And because of that, we're all better. And us doing a transition, basically over 3 years, we did 2 transitions. Our guys felt that. And they didn't get anything handed to them for free. They had to go earn their stripes. They had to go put up and create their processes and create their systems. And some of them had to step up because of the growth we had. They had to step up before they were ready. And they had to learn to become better leaders. And they had to learn to become better people. It's like I'm in the 75 hard group right now. And brutal. But the majority of the group is our leaders, like, which is so cool that is all these guys are doing something hard together right now so they can be better this year. And so I think that's what's separating us is our guys are competing with each other, but they all went through the same thing together where they're all willing to help each other out, become better people. And it's very unique, and I feel like it's not just singular to Infinite. I think we do that together here. Like we have regions that will help other regions out outside the division. And I think this hasn't been done in a long time in the door-to-door industry. It's been very, like, it's all for me. And I think when we caught the vision of this can be better for everybody.
It really is an abundant vision, because
Yeah.
I think our serve and elevate that we talk about is exactly that. Like, we really are, and that comes from Brett and Josh, a ton of really, like, how can you uplift those people around you regardless of, like, the division, because it isn't eat what you kill.
No.
And so you would think that people would be, like, shut off to that, but it actually is really open, especially, like, in the upper leadership of, like, dude, like, let's help each other win, because then we all win.
Yeah.
Man, one thing I will say about you and Curtis and your upper leaders is I've always felt like you guys have done a good job, really good job, with culture and with like having experiences with your guys, like traveling or like events or things like that. Because it's in those moments where you truly bond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you guys like pretty deliberate with that stuff? Maybe speak to that.
Yeah. So with our name Infinite, we rebranded this last year, and it was kind of thrown on us. And we really dived like that. And maybe nobody knows this, but that was actually supposed to be Solar Pro's name. Yeah. And so we transitioned super quick over the holidays, actually. So we didn't have any time to get anything made. And ironically, there was a bunch of Infinite gear here, and we needed it. And so we really dove in, but since then it's become our culture. Like infinite possibilities, infinite life, like infinite growth. Like it's become our culture and our vision. And it's more than just cash, cars, clothes. And we talk about this in our calls. Like, we are not about cash, cars, clothes. We want guys here to make generational wealth and do smart things with their money. And so the coolest thing that I think people get behind and really love is about 5 or 6 years ago, me and Curtis started into real estate. And it was just us doing some hard things, and we had a little bit extra cash. But it was never like we were insanely rich. But we just started getting into real estate and investing and being super smart with our money, and our guys all followed. Like, you see some of these companies that it's all about the cars, and it's all about the shoes, and it's all about the clothes, and those things are cool. But if you don't have the houses, the assets, and the things to back it up, you just have material possessions that are going to depreciate. Yeah. And our guys have really bought into that, even the ones that have terrible spending habits and probably have more shoes than my car is worth, have bought into it. And I think that's really developed our leaders. Same thing with the Infinite Life. Like, we don't want our guys just to work themselves to the bone, which is tough to hear. Like, most leaders, just keep working. You'll make more money. Just keep working. Like, if your life balance or harmony, I think is what Mendez call it. Like, you never have a life balance, you have a life harmony. If your life harmony is super off, you're going to eventually crash and burn. But if you are traveling and you're enjoying the fruits of your labor and you're going and doing the things you should go do, you're going to continue, and your burnout's going to be a lot less. And so, we speak about, infinite possibilities, infinite life, like infinite investments, like all this stuff has been a huge part of our culture for years. And the coolest thing for me to always see is for our guys to go buy their first house, their first investment property. We've lost guys that have gone into other things because they'd made it. And like, that's not bad. Like, people are like, oh dude, you lost that awesome leader. I'm like, no, we helped him grow. Yeah. Like, we helped him on to his next step. Like, he now owns a real estate company. Wow. Like, that's in no way, shape, or form am I upset about that. Yeah. I'm glad we helped him grow. And so I think that has really been part of our culture. And the number one thing people ask when I go to offices is like, hey, can you do another real estate training? Nothing to do with our company. Can you do another real estate training? Because I want to figure out how I can own 3 doors next year. And so I think having a bigger purpose beyond what you can buy, how much money you have, like that is the culture that I think we all need to have. And that's when you really become abundant and you really dig into all that stuff.
Dude, that's powerful. I think, this industry is riddled with, you call them the fake ones or whatever, and I feel like we have such a solid group of the real ones.
Yeah.
Of guys that are just constantly seeking to add true value, even outside of the space, even from like a spiritual or mental or emotional standpoint. I feel like, man, I've never seen it at this level. Like,
Yeah.
I've been in door for 10 years plus, and I've yet to see it where it's just man, I don't even know what to call it. It's like just such an abundant little universe here. And I think that you guys do a phenomenal job with that. I want to, for this last part, I wanted to like dive in with maybe like some things that you feel like I feel like the audience here, like listening to this, there's a lot of new blood. It's constant like new blood. Like what advice would you give some of these guys to grow faster, or like, maybe mindset of like what do they need to be doing here in Solar Pros to really advance their career, like speed things up?
Yeah. I want to start with new leaders because this is on my mind. I was going to talk about it a minute ago. Okay. And maybe this gets cut out because this is not what most leaders should say. But when you're a manager or a regional, you need to have such a good culture in your office that if you left, the company needs to be worried about you taking everybody. And so this is a talk we have with our regionals. Like, if I feel like you guys left and I was able to retain the majority of your network, you're not doing your job right. I want to feel like if you guys left, we're losing everybody.
Because they're so bought into.
Because they're so bought into their leader. And so as a new leader, you need to be the problem solver. And a lot of these new leaders that are just starting, and this is part of the learning, you got to learn to be the problem solver. You're going to go to people to learn how to do the things. You need to be the problem solver for your office. If there's a payroll issue, you need to know where to go. If there's a operations issue, you need to know where to go. You don't need to just rely on your VP or regional or divisional on him to be the problem solver, because then your people are going to go to him. And so as that leader, if you are that guy, your people will always be loyal to you because you're their problem solver. And so we've had that talk a couple times because there's a few of our networks that we do think we'd retain everybody, and we want that culture and mindset to shift.
Giving them the brutal facts. Man.
Yeah, just like, dude, if you guys left right now, we would retain 100% of your people. And they know it, and they're like, I know.
Yeah.
And so,
has the response been good to that?
Really good. Like that, the change that we're having in those networks is amazing. Like I've had a few of them tell their whole people, like, hey, if you have a payroll issue, you come to me. That's not something you go to Jordan for, and they'll show me the texts they're sending to their guys. And it's like, dude, that's awesome. I absolutely love that. And so it was a hard pill for them to swallow, and an even harder thing for me to say out loud. But that's what I want. I want the leaders of those offices to be the person their people look up to, because that's how they're going to grow. And if I'm always the person they look up to, we're never going to lose that network. But if their reps just look up to me, there's a middleman there that those reps could leave. So, and it's a tough thing, It's a tough thing to kind of comprehend.
No, I think that makes. I think it's the foundation in that is really just, dude, like you have to add as much value as possible to your people, and then there's going to be some things that you and Curtis and like your other leaders can add value to, but like the manager, I feel like, man, he's got to be able to handle almost everything, and then from then on, like. That's how you're delegating to those guys and giving them opportunities to step up and to do more for their people. And that's where, if they can't do that, how can they teach that to their people to develop them? You know what I mean? And that's where you're seeing like multi-level growth there. Man, like, what do you feel like? Do you feel like with those groups that you have talked to, you said you have seen some change.
Oh, yeah.
What are, I mean, what are some of the things, like, outside of just like talking to their guys or like saying, hey, come to me, like, what are the things that you notice and they're changing?
Those leaders are starting to become the ones who ask us for what they need help with. So, like, let's say they need an office visit. I don't want to be the one that's hearing from their reps, hey, we need you to come see us. We want to go to dinner. I want to know when their office is having issues, they just need to come in and fill. And I want to help those leaders fix those problems. I don't want to come fix their problems. I want to help those leaders fix their problems and kind of become better leaders. So I think that's how you grow so fast. I think we probably have the youngest two regionals in the company right now. And I think they were the 5th or 6th top region this last year. But it's Caleb and Kenny. Yeah. They're under, I think Caleb's 21. And the maturity that he has grown this last year because of this stuff and because of him being that problem solver, you would never guess these guys were that young. They're just super mature. Their guys look up to them. They have a couple 30-plus-year-olds that work for them that respect them as if they were their dads. And so that's what we want, is we want guys to see that and to look up to those guys. And so just the little things that they're doing more now to create that culture and to do those things with their guys has just been awesome. They're going out and planning their own blitzes. They don't need us to come. They actually don't want us to come because they want to be the guys. They want to be the top reps. They want to be the guys that everybody's excited to hear the correlation from. And so they're just starting to develop, which is helping them develop people to run their correlations. Like, we're going to do a guest correlation once a blitz. We have these other leaders that are going to do correlations.
Yeah, because Kenny and those guys just popped off on that blitz.
They crushed it. Yeah.
Smashed, and they're having a killer month too.
Yeah.
That's a man. I think that hearing from guys like you, like what you guys are up to, is, again, like, the purpose of this podcast is to provide as much value to the field so people can understand, like, man, this is what it takes. Yeah. You know, you have to earn your stripes. You have to go through those ebbs and flows of, like, dude, like rock bottom, you know, like we lost the majority of our network, had to transition. Like, that's the price you have to pay to be able to be in a position where you can recruit 2,000 people because you have that amount of influence. Yeah. I think that's powerful, man. Geez, anything else you feel like you'd want to share for the Solo Pros peeps, or?
I love what you said just there about you have to go through that stuff, because there's a lot of businesses. If you look at the average business just in America, the majority of them fail. But the businessman may not fail. The average business owner starts 7 or 8 businesses before he gets a successful one. And he doesn't just do one and done. And so what you just said there, like having to go through that and hit rock bottom and continue to dig your way out, that's what makes people stronger. It's not this, iceberg you see at the top, like, oh, it's super easy to climb that top of the peak for sure, but you should have seen the shit I went through. Yeah. Like, that's what made people tough, is the relentlessness of those people. And so I think that's where the leaders, they, don't be fearful of when it's tough. Those are the good times. Lean into that. Like, dig into the tough and the suck and do the things that are tough, because I promise you the problems don't get easier, you get better.
Dude, that's money. I heard this quote, and it's just been on my mind a ton. It goes perfectly with what you said, is like dramatic change, massive change comes from 2 things. Yep. It either comes from inspiration or it comes from desperation. And what you see is, like, oftentimes I feel like people, especially in our space, they're rarely, like, just so inspired that they can just, like, get it done and, like, make the changes they need to. A lot of times it takes us to hit rock bottom, or, like, to, like, where our thermometer says, dude, like, code red, like, we got to figure this out, to where, like, all of a sudden we take massive action. Yeah. And now we're doing things that we weren't willing to do 2 weeks ago, but now we're like, dude, I'll shoulder tap recruit. I'll do whatever it takes to kind of get back into it. And then all of a sudden we have massive growth all of a sudden. And we were talking about it, but it looks like anyone who's, like, leading a bigger network or, like, a top producer, you almost can't find someone who hasn't done that. It's like almost like a requirement. Like you have to go through that turmoil and that transition to push through, and then you said it perfectly. You get better. Yeah. It's the same problems. You just know how to handle them, and now you've leveled up, dude. Yeah. That's huge. That's awesome. Jordan, bro, freaking thanks for coming on. This has been absolute money. Excited to have you guys on again, and to keep this thing rolling. Guys, go follow Jordan on Instagram. Watch what he's doing. You're going to see posts about flights every week. There's going to be one today. And I think it's cool that you guys are just showing people like what you're up to. But yeah, go follow him and reach out with any questions, man. Thanks for coming on.
Dude, thanks for having me on.